We have a story to tell. A story of legend and legacy. Brought to life only as Texas would. Dimensional, diverse, and bigger than life. The Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum. A place of pride and purpose. Where Texans and people from around the world meet heroes and heartbreak, come face to face with battles and buffalo, and discover new territory. And this story is one just beginning to unfold.
The Texas State History Museum is a wonderful resource for our state. Under one roof, you can discover a whole spectrum of stories, stories that paint a picture of a place and a state that is like no other.
My favorite part of the museum is the second and third floor. On the second floor, you get to see what we had to go through to get our freedom from Mexico, also the fight we had at the Alamo, and then finally becoming a state.
We sometimes forget how incredibly diverse and beautiful and unique the state is. We all know what's fun about it, but we don't always know the history, and Bob Bullock realized that.
Welcoming young and old, from down the street and down under, from Tyler to Tel Aviv. 3 floors, 400 years, and the history of people from more than 150 nations are on display for visitors.
History is important. It shows where we came from, and it gives us an idea of where we can go in the future. And because it has elements of all the different pieces of Texas history, it helps us to really connect with that history. I can tell from my own kids and the other ones that I've seen there that they get a sense of excitement about the history that is really part of them.
A hub of interest and imagination. We see the story of Texas begin to take shape and soar for our children each day. Whether visitor or long-distance learner, Texas happenings and history become real as the story unfolds.
You have nooks and crannies that allow different students with different questions in their minds or different interests or attention spans to explore the museum at their own pace.
The way that I've experienced the Texas State History Museum is online and through video conferencing, distance learning. And it was just such an encouraging thing to see my first graders answering questions, asking questions, and really being involved. And I think that's what we need to do, is that we need to be able to bring things to our students, especially now that we don't have money for field trips.
We make history larger than life on the IMAX screen.
It's very clear that Texans are proud of the history, and it's been amazing to learn about how successful Texans have been in the history.
And we keep it alive with rotating exhibits.
As opposed to many other museums around the country, this one is not a collecting museum, so anything that you see in the museum today may not be here when you come back the next time. I learn something every day that I come in here.
We honor our history makers, and we honor you, our Museum Foundation advisors and advocates, because our Texas history has a future.
Any great museum needs private support, and this museum is remarkable in that it's done well and survived with its own business model. But to make it great, so you can change out the exhibits, you can express things in a different and new way. You can't just do a museum and walk away from it. You've got to have the funding to keep it growing and dynamic and exciting, so people will come back and continue to learn.
Almost everything I looked at today was new. I've never even heard of some of it. I think the coolest thing was probably the Texas Revolution.
It was cool to know more about the battle than you can get from your social studies book.
We thought it was awesome.
With the pride that made this place possible today and the purpose that will make it better tomorrow, we go forward, creating the next chapter in the story too big to be told just in books, too bright to have an end in sight.
We have this reputation of being friendly and being independent and really persevering. I think those are just great attributes, and it contributes to, my pride for the state of Texas.
I'm proud that I'm a Texan because so many neat things happened here and I had the most amazing day.
I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to give Texans a sense of who we are, where we've been, where we've come, where we're going in the future.
I like working here because I like to make sure that everybody who visits the state of Texas leaves here with a good impression of this state.
The Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum. We have a story to tell. Your story, our story, the Texan story.
Here you will experience the fabric of our culture and history. You can learn about the very ingredients of what makes Texas so special. Even more so, this museum provides young people an opportunity to discover for themselves what it truly means to be a Texan. This is the story of Texas.